Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to our speedrun showcase today. We've got TGH versus Samura1man going up against each other in Link's Awakening Any Percent. Of course, the new version for the Nintendo Switch that just recently came out. I am Vesper, joined by my lovely co-commentator, Sicky. How's it going, Sicky?
I'm doing very well.
Awesome. So this is going to be a good race. We've got TGH and Samu, but they're currently the top two runners of this game by a pretty significant margin. They're kind of skating ahead most of the other runners. Myself in third place, actually. I'm like 4 minutes behind both of these guys. So these guys are actually just insane. So this is going to be a fantastic race.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this.
So am I. Am I allowed to talk? Or
no, stay quiet.
No,
you're not allowed to talk.
No, you're not allowed to talk after the race.
You too, Samu.
I guess I'm DQ.
It's actually a one-strike policy,
you're
so
both
you're
disqualified.
Out. Sorry. Yeah, let's go home.
Sicky wins.
Sad, dude.
Thank you.
I knew Sicky would win.
I had a feeling.
And we are off.
Looks like
runners are going to be starting any second here. And I think we should probably mention before this run starts, what the runners did before the file select screen here was a little bit of RNG manipulation that's going to be changing their pattern that they get for the Dungeon 4 puzzle, as well as their egg maze route at the end of the game. We are able to completely manipulate this and get the same value for every run, or different values depending on what we want. We kind of have this system of manipulating that, so we are able to skip getting the magnifying lens.
Yeah, this game's not that old. It's only maybe a little over a month, but it's already found a handful of pretty major skips. Like, we don't do any of the trading sequence anymore, and we don't even get any, Bow Wow most recently.
Right,
we've done away with him.
It's funny that you mentioned that because you and I both put a bounty on that skip.
Yeah.
we both put up $50 for that skip to be found, and it was found about less than a week after the bounty was put out.
Yeah, it didn't take that long. Shoutouts to Tuval.
The game is so much better to run now that Bow Wow's not in it.
Yeah, it's funny. That trick just made a lot of other tricks a lot more convenient, so it just kind of enhanced the speedrun, in my opinion.
Yeah. It still saved about, I don't know if it's been thoroughly timed, but like a minute, something like that.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a little over 1 minute. So
the runners at the start of the run here are just going to be grabbing the sword. Of course, you can't really do much in this game without the sword. So they're going to be grabbing that on the shore, and we're going to be making our way up to the tail key, which is going to require some walking through the forest here. And that will be on our way into Dungeon 1. This first section of the game here, nothing too crazy going on. It's kind of just a lot of movement optimization and kind of making sure you're taking good lines throughout all the enemies here and doing what you can to dodge the ones that are in your way.
Yeah, the first segment before Dungeon 1 is kind of unique in the sense that a lot of it is like about juking and optimizing your movement, because you don't really have any items at your disposal. So it's just you and the enemies, and you're just trying to get through. And
it is worth mentioning. Yeah, we're playing the run in German right now, just because German has fewer text boxes in certain parts of the game. Mainly at the end of dungeons, there's a big white screen with some black text in the center, and German actually has, among some other languages, one less text box than languages like English or Japanese, and that's where most of the time save comes from. It's about, 25-30 seconds to play in German or English?
I think, just from like those alone, it's like 25 or so. Which is, pretty crazy just from a simple language switch.
I saw that, TGH. Nice.
An unfortunate pitfall from TGH. Still pretty close together, though. Something that is worth mentioning is that from like basically the very start of the run to a certain point about halfway through, the runners are going to be micromanaging how many enemies they're killing. And this is all for manipulating some stuff later, so it's just good to keep in mind that the whole time they are counting and they're like keeping track.
It's actually something that a lot of people might not really realize is that in depth about this game. At least right now, the first kind of half of the run, you are always micromanaging your enemy kill count. Every time you kill an enemy, you got to keep a note of it because there's some manipulation with some items. The pieces of power, as well as Tracy's medicine that we buy twice for some skips. It's really important to know what your current kill count is so you can manipulate the prices and when the piece of power drops. So they're counting every single time they get a kill. They are keeping note. And it's about after Dungeon 5 where you kind of don't really have to do that anymore for the most part.
Yeah, it's only 3 or 4 crucial points where it's relevant in the first half. Shout out
runners are very, very close right now. The beginning section it's not the most difficult section to not lose a ton of time on, but they're very, very close right now.
Yeah, it's all about little tiny things that'll, push you ahead or behind just because it's like enemy movement. Like as you can see on TGH's screen, the mob, yeah, he had to kind of do a little dance with it and stuff because it's not as simple as just jumping over it. Yeah, so this segment usually has a swing of anywhere from like 3 to 4 to 5 seconds solely from little factors like that.
That was an interesting bounce pattern that the guy got on TGH's screen. I've never seen him like kind of bounce up in the top left there.
Yeah, that was funny. He kind of went the opposite direction. I think I started noticing that as I do it more consistently, I'm noticing like how to get it more or less like the same bounce pattern every time. It's not like an exact science, but
I think it depends on where Link is standing when you use the powder.
Yeah, that's my working theory, is that it's all about your position.
So you should be able to get the exact same pattern every time by like hugging the right wall and then moving up until you can't anymore, right?
Yeah, then that's something I do of the sorts. It's like I rub up against the wall and then I use that as like a reference point.
This is speedrun science. Welcome everyone.
Yeah.
Talking about how we can manipulate the bouncing NPC that does nothing.
Yeah, it's like mostly arbitrary. He can kind of get in your way, but
knowing this game in like a month from now, we're gonna be like, oh, if you manipulate him to bounce in this specific direction, it lets you get into the egg early.
Yeah, right. He'll clip through the wall and then he'll just like hit a trigger or something. Yeah, so it's kind of cool seeing them both pretty darn close. It looks like Tej maybe has a bit of an edge, but it's so small.
Yeah, both getting into Tail Cave here at just under the 6:10 mark, which is pretty on pace here. Not too much time loss. Like Sticky said, there's normally about a variance of like 5 or so seconds that you can kind of take a hit on going into Dungeon 1.
Yeah, and it won't be long after we get a few more movement options. The first half of D1 is a little bit of the same, just kind of trying to juke and get your way through. Ooh, TGH getting the slightly faster,
the downward path.
Yeah, that one, it's a little dependent on what the Zolds do, so it looks like he saw a good opportunity and went for it.
I like the optimization there with the powder.
Yeah, that double kill, it's pretty slick. I think just to add to that, the kill count science, I think what's something that's in the code is that whenever an enemy produces the purple smoke, it's an indicator.
It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Yeah, when you see that purple smoke, that's gonna add to the kill counter. There's a few nuances which I'm not gonna bother getting into, but you can read about it on ZSR if you want.
Honk.
Beep.
So yeah, we didn't mention it, but they now have the ability to jump. They got the Dungeon 1 item, which is the Rock's Feather. It's just an equipable that when you press it, you hop in the air. So that kind of changes the way we play a little bit.
Yeah, for the most part, the Rock's Feather is kind of just like one of those little movement optimization items. Obviously, it's going to be required in certain areas of the game, but for the most part, it's really useful when you're running through enemies that are in your way, you can kind of jump and slash them rather than stopping to slash them, which is just a little bit faster. It's going to save some frames that you would lose otherwise from slashing on the ground.
Still pretty neck and neck. D1 being pretty good to both of them. There isn't much that can go wrong. Only save a couple trolling moments, and then also the Moldorm fight coming up is could change things up a bit.
Yeah, Dungeon 2 has got a little bit going on in it that could maybe separate some of our separate the runners a little bit, but for the most part, once we get those Pegasus boots and your overworld movement and all of your Pegasus boots movement in general starts coming into play, that's when we're going to see a lot of different time saves and strats and stuff. And I like that. TGH actually went for the single slash strats, the single slashes, and Samu went for the spin attacks. And I haven't actually timed to see which one's faster. I think the single slashes are faster, but I wouldn't doubt that the spin attacks could be, I don't know. It's got to be like a variance of like a second.
Yeah, it's probably minimal, and I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that the single slash puts you closer to the door, so I think that alone kind of makes up for it. Like,
exactly. You kind of have more control.
Oh,
really
beautiful
good hamburger fight from TGH. Ooh, both
Similar.
of them are very, very good fights.
Yeah, those are both very good Moldorm fights, kind of keeping pace with one another. The problem with that fight is that your sword will clink on the head of the Moldorm, so you kind of want it to position itself in such a way where the tail is exposed, and that it's kind of random. So
you got to be one step ahead of the hamburger. And actually, if you do get unlucky there, and if the Moldorm kind of has this, if it angles in towards you while you have your sword charged, it'll actually just bounce you off the edge, and there's nothing you can do. As soon as you take that first hit, you're just stun locked, and you just fall off the edge, and it sucks. Losing runs like that is awful.
Yeah, losing runs to Moldorm is it's a pretty frustrating scenario.
Especially because the first part of the run here up until Dungeon 1 it's not boring, but there's not really anything exciting going on, and having to do that again is just awful.
It's like the only remaining fetch quest that we do is the powder. So now that we're done with Dungeon 1, the first real skip of the game is coming up in just about a minute here.
This is the newest one found as well.
Yeah, this is the one that we, as Vesper mentioned, there was a bounty placed on a skip for this. This is generally when we're supposed to go retrieve Bow Wow, who's been captured by the moblins, but instead of doing that, we have another way to enter Dungeon 2 that doesn't require Bow Wow. And it's pretty amusing looking.
It's a cool trick. I like it.
I really dig this trick.
And one of the cool things about it was like the first method that was found was like very RNG dependent, and it relied on the chickens. You activate them to make them attack you, and it kind of relied on getting good RNG and getting pushed up on top of a tree here. TGH looks like he got it first try. Nice, good work.
Yeah, very, very quick. Hopefully Samura1man's like will behave.
Yeah, there's a lot of signs with the likes here. Sometimes they don't really do what you want them to do.
Fortunately, he played nice as well, so.
Good stuff. So TGH pulling a little bit ahead here with a pretty much flawless like skip. And Samu trailing just a little bit behind right now, but this is still a lot of the run left. Anything could happen.
Yeah, there's no shortage of tricks that could easily swing the pace. This first room in Dungeon 2 is actually kind of a low-key time sink, but both of them getting really, really quick spin slashes.
Oh, I hate that room so much.
Yeah, it's like low-key one of the hardest rooms in D2 in my opinion to like do optimally.
I used to skip that key until we figured out a strat that kind of made it so you have to get that key.
Yeah, forced you.
Killing those guys.
Yeah, I remember when it used to be a little more up in the air in terms of which ones you picked from.
you think one day we're gonna find like a first cycle on this underground section?
Ooh, it would have to. I don't know. I never say we won't ever. You know.
Right. There'd have to be like some way to just make yourself move faster.
Yeah, we would need some sort of like movement glitch, probably. Ooh, really clean Hinox fight from TGH.
The jump slash strat, you kind of just spam your sword at him and see. Hopefully it works out.
We'll see if Sam. It's because of the Hinox can either throw a bomb or he can grab you, and it's a little slower if he does the grab animation. Oh, but
Sam was able to get a quick enough.
Matter. Yeah.
And here we're coming up on the power bracelet, the item which lets you pick things up. So we now have an item that lets you jump and an item that lets you pick things up, which are two things that you would normally expect someone to be able to do without the use of an item. But here we are in Link's Awakening.
Something that sort of confounded me about this game is they kept the Rock's Feather as equipable.
Right.
I think that probably could have been relegated to just like a
some button,
permanent button, but to each their own. So I see that TGH opted for the rupee, I think. Well, Samurai1man skipping the 20 rupee chest.
As long as they're accounting properly, they aren't going to need those extra rupees.
I wonder
just a safety strat.
Yeah, I wonder if Samura1man opted not for it because perhaps he.
I think Samu normally doesn't get it.
Or... Oh, does he normally not?
Right.
Well, it seems like the gap between the runners is about the same near the end of this dungeon as it was at the start, so this has been pretty consistent segment.
Yeah, I think Samu's gaining a little bit of time here, just because I think his Hinox fight might have been like maybe a second or two faster.
Yeah, his was also very, very good. Oof.
I hate the pots in this game.
Pot hitboxes are a joke.
They just don't make sense. There's nothing more to be said about it.
Yeah, like honestly.
I can hold a pot and have other pots behind me. Like if I've got pots below me and I throw my pot that I'm holding up, it'll break the pots behind me. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
You'll
good.
be like an inch from like the adjacent pot and it'll be like, oh no, they clearly collided with each other. Yeah. So actually the gap closed a little bit once more because TGH had a second try, little jump to the boss door.
Which is something that happens. That jump is a little bit trickier than it looks.
Yeah,
not super hard, but not super easy either. Genie Fight is kind of one of those things right now that just suck. This is a very, very long fight. I think by far the longest boss fight in the game, with the exception of Nightmare, of course.
Yeah, it's very like stage based. There's like these blocked sequences like phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and
you just gotta wait, and there's not much else you can do.
And I think a big thing is that it's like the first two phases are more like kind of theatric. They're not about dealing damage. Like you can't even access his main health in these phases.
And so here is the second phase where we are actually able to damage the boss in the fight. You can do this in 2 cycles, ideally. If you use double spin slashes, as well as just some regular hits near the end, depending on how much damage you do in the first phase, you're able to do this in 2 cycles.
Yeah, we take advantage of the fact that if, depending on where the enemy's standing, it'll actually receive 2 spin slash hits if you let go and are positioned right. And also, it's pretty common to see the runners skip certain heart containers in dungeons, so you'll be seeing them just kind of bypass those entirely. We do need to pick up a few of them because the final fight involves some strats that necessitate taking damage. But yeah, for about half of them, you'll see them just skip it. I think they both got sub 18 dungeon 2s.
Yep.
And here's where the first purchase of the game is going to happen. And this is one of the ones that's manipulated by the kill count. So hopefully TGH will only spend 28 rupees here, and so will Samu. Okay, well, TGH and Samurai seems as though their kill counts were not quite correct. They ended up spending 42 rupees each. And normally that's not a big deal. Samura1man's only going to be able to buy one set of bonds at the shop now. That's not bad per se, but his bomb route until Dungeon 6 is going to be pretty tight.
Yeah, there's a pickup in Dungeon 4 that he might be able to farm. Yeah, no, he can just get the one at the start of Dungeon 4 twice, I think.
Oh yeah,
it'll lose a little bit of time, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, the as long as you know his oh, actually, do we know if they're going to be opting to do AK skip?
They're not.
They are not. Okay, yeah, so it's less relevant, true, so
yeah, I guess we got to mention that coming up after Dungeon 3, there's going to be a relatively big sequence break. I think actually the biggest sequence break in the run, not including what early lens would be if we actually did it, which would be angular key skip, which saves something like 4.5-5 minutes. Skips a lot of intended stuff that you're supposed to do by getting into Dungeon 4 without using the angular key. It is a pretty volatile trick that if you mess up the trick, you lose like 2 minutes. And both of our runners have opted to mutually not go for that trick, just because if someone was to fail it, it would pretty much decide the race right there. So
wow, they're like neck and neck right now. They both just got Villa Skip at like the exact same time.
Throw the key in, and now we are on our way to Dungeon 3. We should probably explain what they just did, huh?
Yeah, so, yeah, I guess we didn't exactly explain Tracy boosting, huh?
So, what they just did was they took that fox over to that section above the cave there, and what they did was they timed a bomb explosion as well as the fox lunging towards Link to push them on top of that ledge. And that was called a Tracy Boost, and it lets you get into the villa here, the Pothole Garden, without going to Kind of Like Castle and collecting the 5 golden leaves, this was the first big sequence break that we found in this game.
Yeah, I think that's true. This is that Tracy boosting tech was found pretty early on, and applications for it were, didn't come too long after.
Actually, I think early lens was a bit earlier than that, but
yeah, I think
air
timing was
early lens exists because we don't do it.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool trick. Yeah, so they're still going to be counting their kills. They're not done with that yet. I don't think either of them are going to get a piece of power drop in Dungeon 3, so it won't be quite relevant yet. They're gonna... Oh, okay, so yeah, TGH actually getting a pretty late piece of power drop there. This kill count's pretty low.
That is really late, wow.
You do want a certain number of kills, like you don't want to have too low of a count because of a certain piece of power drop in Dungeon 5 that is probably the most precise part in terms of manipulations.
These are the Dodongo snakes, I think is what they're called. I hate them. I think all runners hate them.
Yeah, I think that's pretty unanimous. This will be the this ought to be the next bounty.
Yeah, skip these guys, please. I don't know if it's possible in this dungeon, but well, no, it might be if we can get into the Pegasus boots from the other side. But then we won't get the warp, so who knows?
Yeah, like that's a tough call. Yeah.
Dungeon 6, I could see it happening though.
Yeah, if we just figure out another way to get up onto that ledge.
So there's our Pegasus boots, and this is where the run begins. In my opinion, because now is when we get our movement speed up. We get to dash everywhere instead of just holding our control stick, and this is where your movement really starts to matter.
Yeah, and Pegasus boot movement is a lot more calculated in terms of like it's one of those things like you kind of know what I mean when you feel using it, because like moving around with the Pegasus boots is kind of touchy and you gotta kind of be optimal with it.
Yeah, the one good thing about Pegasus boots in this game is that you have a lot of control over the actual movement of them. Whereas in a games like A Link to the Past, you're kind of just moving a straight line. And in this game, you have a lot of control over the boots.
Yeah, like you can change your direction as you're using them and stuff. So you can try to construct, you know, optimal angles that way.
Samu has actually pulled ahead now.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like he's. Oh, both of them getting very clean Stallfus rooms too.
So just by a little bit, Samura1man is now ahead.
He did have to opt for some extra bombs, maybe because he felt like he was too low. I'm not exactly sure what his bomb count is right now.
Yeah, it kind of depends on how the Dodongo snakes went. It's not very often that you would waste a bomb there, but it is possible if you get really unlucky. Oh, TGH opting for the slightly faster route.
Yeah, both of them doing it. Samura1man a little luckier that time. You can't really predict if those Zols are going to jump at you, so usually you just kind of have to jump and pray they don't grab you. And that's more or less Dungeon 3. Now all they have to do is do an underground section and then the final boss.
Ooh, Samu's gonna get his piece of power for the boss. It's gonna maybe let him one cycle as long as he gets lucky. Ooh, Samu does get that nice one cycle, and that's going to save just enough time to get our runners almost perfectly tied.
Yeah, that was all it took.
That is in sync as it gets.
Picking up the heart at the same time. Although TJ is a little lower in the room, but...
Yeah, Samu's a little bit closer to the door.
Wow, this is pretty compelling race so far.
Yeah, so this is where things are going to be interesting, because this is where we are going to be not doing angler key skip, which is something that's been in the run for at least 3 weeks now. And both of these runners need to just on the fly remember the old route that they used. And we're going to see if they can both do it well.
Yeah, this is, at this point, this method is a little outdated. At least we get to go on the date in this route.
Yeah, that's not bad. Here we get to see some good overworld movement with these booties. So normally what you do here is you take that seashell mansion warp and go to the Dampe's shack warp, grab another set of Tracy's medicine, and then you'd start doing angler key skip after getting the Ocarina. But since we're not doing angler key skip, we are instead going to be going to the animal village and talking to the walrus, which will trigger the Marin cutscene at the beach, which will let us take a Marin here to Animal Village, where we can grab the angler key and learn the Ballad of the Windfish.
Yeah, unfortunately we have to speak to the walrus in order to get Marin on the beach.
There's two different triggers. One of them is talking to the walrus. The other one is trading the pineapple for whatever comes next in the trading sequence. Or no, isn't it trading the bananas for the pineapple? No, the stick.
It's talking to the bear, so giving the bear the honeycomb.
The honeycomb, that's what it was. And you get the pineapple. Okay. So I was right about the pineapple. It's been a while since we've actually done this in the route.
Yeah.
I think we routed out the second half of the trading quest, what, day 4 of this game? And we didn't have to do it anymore?
Yeah, something like that. It was like within a week. Yeah, this game feels like it's been out for so much longer.
Just because of the sheer amount of skips and stuff that we have. It really feels like this game's been out for a while and it's just like super optimized and had a lot of work put into it. And it has had a lot of work put into it, but the amount of results that we've had with this game just kind of make it feel like one of those Zelda games that have been worked at and broken for upwards of 5 years. But nope, here we are, not even 2 months in.
And I think there is something to be said about the amount of research that's gone into this game, because you know we have people like looking at the code, you know, on like a super low level and like understanding how it works.
We were able to decompile the game and look at some of the not the source code, but the code. Both runners neck and neck here at our Marin date cutscene. We got Samu pulling ahead, just one text box right now. Looks like...
Let's see how their mashing is.
TGH's Marin, a little bit more excited than Samu's. Looks over just about half a second earlier.
Yeah, it's I
think
like
TGH
this is going
is
pretty
doing
well for him.
A little bit better job in making the moves on Marin here.
Yeah, there's some pretty complex dialogue choices you got here.
A nice firm nod from TGH. Samu is also going to make the same.
A good move. Yeah, so now we have to escort Marin all the way back to the walrus so that she can wake him up. Oh, and then we have a fight that I don't miss from this route, which is the Landmola.
Oh, if Samu decides to use bomb arrows on the Landmola, he's gonna have some trouble here, I think.
Yeah, that would... Actually, I almost think bomb routing is a little more complex for this route just because of the bomb arrows and all that stuff.
I think, actually, he doesn't need... I don't think he needs bombs between now and Dungeon 4, though. Because once he gets into Dungeon 4, he's fine. He can just grab that that flying drop twice.
Yeah, so he could theoretically use all of his arrows, bomb arrows here, I think.
Because it does take 4 arrows to kill Landmolas, and bomb arrows do the same damage, so... That's worth noting is, looks like TGH is... Or sorry, at least Samu, TGH might do the same. They're going to be opting to use some bomb arrows here on... Yep, they both are. They're going to be using the bomb arrows here on Landmolas, and the bomb arrows don't actually do more damage. They just make it way easier to actually hit the land mola because you need to hit the head, and the bomb arrow explosion just makes it really easy.
Yeah, it's getting a really clean one cycle from Samu.
That is nice. And there's our old friend, the angler key. Been a while.
Yeah, this was like the last real good piece of like overworld movement that we did. Like, I think now all we really do is, well, we have the movement to Flame Cave skip, which is pretty fun.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. The overworld's pretty optimized now. There's not many sections where we actually do a lot of running around anymore.
Yeah, it's just because of all the portals and everything.
Except for like maybe after Dungeon 3.
Yeah, Dungeon 3 and then Flame Cave and...
That's about it.
Yeah. Then we get a little song break. In the new route, we actually trigger this cutscene in Mabe Village. And we never even go to Animal Village in the modern route. I think I'm going crazy because I thought TGH activated that cutscene first.
Well, as the theory states, Samura1man is from Finland, and switches from Finland actually move faster. They work faster, they load quicker, and that's why Samura1man's times are so good.
Oh, okay. That checks out.
Yeah, so when you put your Switch in a sauna, it helps it relax and load things faster. And that's why
Finland is calm it down a little bit.
Right, it's just such a good country for speedrunning in.
Oh, and this will change the route up a bit more too later because they don't have to deal with the waterfall now.
Oh yeah, you're right. Is it faster to just still do waterfall skip? I think it is.
I think if you're coming from D8 after doing Flame Cave,
is this something that needs to be timed?
Actually, I don't know because the only other guess I could have is like if you just did owl skip and go through the caves.
Right.
But that does seem pretty slow. Like
yeah, you'd have to go through the caves and then go through the right side and then up the bridge and then all the way to the left just to get to the bird cave, which is like I feel like doing waterfall skip to get the bird key is still faster.
Yeah, because it puts you right next to the bird key anyways. That's funny. Yeah, there's a few theoretical tricks that would still be cool. Like we definitely still have like a to-do list. Like there's bird key skip and early rooster.
I think the urgency of working on this list is kind of lowering though. It used to be kind of more like, oh my god, we really need this skip right now, it's gonna save 5 minutes, versus now it's kind of just like, hey, this would be nice.
Yeah, it's like this would be a nice little upgrade for this section, but yeah, so I think from here, Samura1man's good for bombs. If he needs to, I think he'll just get the second round.
Yep. Also, both runners, I forgot to mention this, both runners successfully completed the non-angler key skip route without any mistakes, so good work, good work.
Yeah, very
it's almost like they've done it before. Ooh, really nice movement there from Samura1man. Able to kill both those turtles with one slash.
Yeah, I saw the TGH did a similar thing too. That's from pretty cool movement. And I think, yeah, Samura1man's doing a slightly different route here. This is because he's managing his kill route. If you just save and quit out of that room instead of killing the enemies, it just saves you a little bit of kills.
Saves you 4 kills, right? Because right now they're trying to manipulate their piece of power drops for Dungeon 5 so they can get the piece of power right before Slimeal, which is a very RNG heavy boss. And having that piece of power lets you one cycle it, which is going to eliminate a lot of the bad RNG that you could potentially get.
Yeah, that one can make a pretty huge difference depending on the kind of luck you get.
Right, that one's like a make or break kind of thing. Like if you're going to learn how to route your pops, you start with that because that's the biggest one.
Yeah, like Dungeon 3 is pretty minimal, so I don't think Dungeon 4 is even viable with the modern route. Yeah, so TGH and Samura1man coming up on Cue Ball here. I don't know his actual official name.
What is his actual name? I think everyone just calls him Cue Ball. That was a really good fight.
Wow, yeah, that was incredibly clean from TGH. Essentially what we're trying to do is stun lock him.
Just barely gets away from Samu, but it's not going to lose much time because he's still right beside the door. So that was effectively a perfect fight.
Yeah, it was the same effect, essentially. Did he use an arrow on the cue ball? That's pretty cool.
They both did.
Song break number 2.
We are now part of the COD squad.
Yeah, this song is a little more relevant for the speedrun. This one lets us like teleport to any of the portals we've turned on. And then I think from here with this route, they would just go to Dungeon 5, right? Unless one of them gets face key first.
Yeah.
Actually, so it looks like they are diverting because Samura1man went to Martha's Bay. So Samura1man is doing Dungeon 5 first, and then TGH is getting face key.
Yep, so we're going to have a little bit of divergence in our routes here, which is going to be syncing up again at the start of Dungeon 6. TGH grabbing the face key. So earlier, before we had, I believe it was Angler Key Skip, it really didn't matter when you got the face key. There was 2 different spots you could get it, either before Dungeon 5 or right after Dungeon 5, before going to Dungeon 6. And it kind of didn't really matter when you did it. And it looks like both our runners are deciding to do it at different times. So we're going to have a little bit of divergence here, which will sync up in about 15-ish minutes.
Yeah, this way it's kind of hard to know the pace that the runners are on comparatively. Yeah, so on TGH's screen, this is the boss that's keeping the face key. Really good quick kill there. You can save a cycle of jumping if you get 2 arrow shots in that 3rd phase. It's pretty tight though. And then here's the first of 4 mini-boss fights that we do in Dungeon 5.
Yeah, earlier we were talking about the kill count and managing your kill count, and how normally when you see some purple smoke, it's going to add an enemy to your kill count. This Master Stalfos is one of those exceptions. Every time you fight him here and he jumps away, you fight him a total of 4 times. When he jumps away like that, he's still going to add to your kill count. So going through this dungeon, we get 4 additions to our kill count from fighting Master Stalfo rather than just the 1 from the end.
Yeah, I wonder why they chose to do it that way.
Is it like that in the original?
I don't believe it is. I'd have to double check.
Okay. Up on the 3rd fight here. The first 3 are pretty quick, and then the 4th one has a little bit of backtracking.
Yeah, these fights are all about the same. Just gotta knock him down, and then we lay a bomb preemptively so that by the time he's already fallen, it goes off. Yeah, so it kind of looks like TGH is like a little behind, but I still think they've both been playing pretty clean still. I'd wager they're pretty close still.
Right. Yeah, I haven't noticed any big mistakes though that I would lead me to believe that one is super far ahead of the other right now. So I'm pretty sure they're both pretty much neck and neck at this point.
So now that Samura1man's finished his round of 4, he's going to pick up the dungeon item, which is the hook shot. This item is pretty useful for the speedrun. It allows us to do a skip pretty quickly in this dungeon. We're just gonna get the boss key, then make our way to the final fight in the boss or in the dungeon.
Lots of auto-loading in this dungeon, which I don't know if we ever actually explained that. This game auto-saves after every kind of minor or major thing that you do. You'll see a little auto-save icon in the bottom corner. So stuff like opening a chest or picking up an item or defeating an important enemy it's gonna auto-save. And then you can load that autosave, which when you're in the overworld, it's gonna do nothing. When you're in a cave, it's gonna take you back to the entrance of the cave that you came in from. And in dungeons where it is most useful, it's going to take you to the entrance of your dungeon. And as you can imagine, it's very useful to be able to warp back to the entrance of your dungeon quite often.
Yeah, especially in this one, where, like, without that, this dungeon would probably have the most backtracking of any of them.
Right. I think we auto-load 4 times in this dungeon.
Yes, I think so. Crazy. And I guess I'll explain really quick something that Samura1man's gonna do. It's gonna look kind of funny. He's gonna do a small key skip by getting hook-shotting across a pit that you're normally not supposed to be able to. And the way we do this is we have this concept in Link's Awakening called skew, where you can position Link outside of one of the 8 preset angles that you're supposed to be able to use. And that's done by jumping and like modestly using the analog stick to shift your angle to one of like the however many floating point number angles there are.
65,535.
Yes, yeah, something crazy like that. And that's why he's able to just hookshot diagonally and land onto that walkable space.
Samu also got the piece of power for Slime Eel here, correctly manipulated. So that's going to allow him to one-cycle the boss as long as he doesn't get massively trolled at the start, to the point where the piece of power will bleed out before he's able to get the kill. It's going to take 8 hits with the piece of power 16 hits otherwise. Ooh, it misses the first cycle.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's gonna be a okay, but
he should have it here.
This, yeah, he'll have enough of the piece of power.
Perfect. Not super ideal, but still could have been much worse. I think in a race, you'll take that any day.
Yeah, second try, totally acceptable. And that's why minimizing the amount of times you have to hope you get it right is why piece of power is so important there.
Yeah, there's a lot of RNG in that boss, because not only is it just kind of a 1 in 4 chance based on which hole he's going to come out, but later in the fight, if you don't have that piece of power, he can also spawn the mimics or the fake guys, which don't actually count for boss damage, so then it effectively becomes like a 1 in 8 chance or something to get the hole that you want. It's a little more complex than that, but that's just kind of the gist of it. TGH here not going for the same small key skip, gets that one really first try. Nice.
TGH not having piece of power, unfortunately, for his boss fight. So this could be a big swing point.
Right. Depending on how this boss goes, I think it's fair to say that Samu's probably ahead right now. But we will find out once both runners enter Dungeon 6 who is ahead, because that's when these routes are going to sync up again. Yeah, that top right, ooh, that top right position for the first spawn is very annoying. Should be able to get this one though. No, really unfortunate fight right now for TGH.
Yeah, this is not what you want to happen. He's not spawning on the left, and looks like TGH is trying to get him to.
Right. Should be able to get some damage in here. Still might take another cycle though.
So he's at 11 hits. No, yeah, 11 hits, I think.
He's gonna get 5. Ooh. That's gonna be the end.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate fight for TGH, and that's gonna be a big push for Samura1man right now, as he's gonna pull head by, I want to say, like 30 seconds. And that's exactly what we were talking about when we were saying that the piece of power is really useful for Slime Eel.
Yeah, like that's the kind of difference you see just from that dungeon alone.
And it sucks too, because that's just like totally random. You saw like TGH was doing what he could to kind of mitigate the RNG and be in the right spot at the right time, but he just got really unlucky like 5 times in a row. It's rough.
Yeah, so this is where we can kind of take stock of the time difference now that they're both making their way to Dungeon 6.
We can kind of keep an eye on the time here. Samura1man puts the key in at 51:45. TGH following. 59, so 14 seconds Samurai's ahead right now. That's actually impressive. That means that TGH's overall run is probably way faster, because TGH lost a lot more than 14 seconds on Slime Eel.
Yeah.
So Dungeon 6 is actually a really cool dungeon in this speedrun. There's not really anything big that kind of skips a ton of stuff or etc, etc. It's kind of just good movement, good optimization, good use of all the items that you've collected up to this point. It's really cool.
Yeah, this is where like you really start taking full advantage of like all the possible ways you could, you know, complete a room or something. Yeah, I'd say like this run is kind of broken up into chunks for me. It's like everything up to Dungeon 3, and then Dungeon 3 to Dungeon 6 is sort of its own thing, and then once you like get the hook shot and you're in Dungeon 6, it sort of changes again.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just different feeling that you get from playing the game.
So, coming up here... Oh, actually, no, not quite yet. I was going to talk about the mini-boss, but... Yeah, something that you have to deal with a lot in Dungeon 6 is Wizrogues. And in that room there with the 4 of them, Samura1man having a mostly clean one, maybe having a little trouble with one of them, but not too bad.
Give you a quick time update here. Sam is going to open that on a late 54. Samurai coming up at a late 2 seconds. So that is what, if I do my math correctly, 8 seconds now. So TGH is closing the gap.
Yeah, this is getting closer. Let's see if Samura1man can get an early grab here on the mini boss. Ooh, good work. It's not easy getting that early grab without pizza power. TGH getting it as well.
Did they both just do that in a race?
Yeah, they both just got it.
They both actually just did that in a race? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like we said, these two runners are just total beasts at this game. Yeah, and coming up here is the Dungeon 6 boss, which is, I think probably, maybe like one of my, probably my favorite dungeon boss.
Yeah, this is a really cool boss. It's also, I think, probably the hardest boss in the speedrun to do optimally.
Yeah, it's tough.
Sammy working on these Dodongo snakes. Going pretty good so far. Hasn't had anything really bad happen just yet. And he should be good. Yeah, it's a very, very good fight.
Pretty clean.
TGH is going to lose one bomb to getting trolled. Yeah, as soon as you drop a bomb in these guys' mouth, they're going to move 4 times before you can put another bomb in their mouth.
Yeah, so a lot of it is sort of watching and waiting.
Kind of predicting where they're going to be in 4 tiles and just being ready to drop a bomb as soon as that 4 tiles or 4 movements are up. Samu's pulled pretty far ahead now again.
Yeah.
Whereas TGH was doing a really good job closing the gap earlier in the dungeon. Samu has definitely made some strides recently. Made it to that boss. I believe there's about a 20-second difference between them right now.
Yeah, he entered it at 58, 38, and yeah, almost exactly 20 seconds difference.
I gotta be honest, that was just a guess.
Yeah, that was...
It was a good guess. Ooh, that bomb just barely clipped with the corner.
Yeah, great fight.
Zod's face there.
Yeah, for those last few phases, you sort of have to... You have to hope that the way, like the place that Facade spawns is in such a way that you can actually get some of these projectiles to detonate like around the face.
Both of them had very, very good fights.
Yeah, very clean.
Like I was saying, I think Facade's probably the most difficult boss in this game to actually do well. And they both did it very, very well. And now that we're done with Dungeon 6, we just got Dungeon 7 and Dungeon 8 left. We're going to be first grabbing our friend the Rooster, and you guys are going to see quite a bit of difference in the way that we do things once we have this Rooster. The Rooster kind of changes a lot of things about the game, and it's going to let us do some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, this is where the game gets a little more broken. Not before we do... Oh, TGH, unfortunately, playing the Ocarina instead of using the hook shot.
We've all done it.
Yeah, we've all been there. No one's innocent of that crime.
Happens to be in Dungeon 6 a lot when I go and try and jump over the tiles, or not the tiles, the section before the Dodongo snakes where you equip Ballad of the Windfish. I always fat finger right there.
So here is the third and final song break. It's best song.
Unload the toad. Unroll the tadpole. Unclog the frog. There's more to it that I don't remember. That's a good copy pasta. Someone has to have that, right? I need to see that one in chat stat. Unhibit the ribbit, yes.
Oh my goodness, they never end.
Oh, my favorite one is permit the Kermit.
And then here's where we're going to see a little bit of sequence breaking for dungeons. Because instead of going to Dungeon 7, we're going to make a pit stop over in Dungeon 8. Just for a sec. This is another spot where the time difference now could be completely arbitrary. Because there's a trick.
There's 3-ish tricks coming up that can all be pretty volatile in terms of how much time you could lose if you mess it up a few times. Specifically, one that's we're gonna be doing in Dungeon 8, which is gonna be a frame perfect trick, and it's kind of one of those things where if you mess it up, you just start draining time.
Yeah, so we're gonna use the rooster here to do something called an air climb. It looks like this. Oh.
So we're gonna be grabbing the ladder in the wrong spot there, which lets us climb the ladder in the air above it, which is kind of just this weird interaction that I don't entirely know how it works, but I kind of have an idea.
It seems to think that, like, the ladder, you're at the bottom of the ladder, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so both runners kind of struggling. They're both kind of neck and neck now, trying to get the trick. This is kind of what happens.
This is this section of the run. This little part here is kind of difficult. Lots of difficult stuff. TGH is gonna get it, and he's gonna pull ahead.
It. So that's gonna put him ahead right there. But we're not done.
And there's Samu following.
Not too far behind. Yeah.
But don't worry. This does not mean that TGH is for sure ahead right now, because we still have one trick coming up in Dungeon 8 here. And I think after that one, it's going to be the person who's ahead after this trick in Dungeon 8 is going to be, I think we can say, has a pretty good chance of winning the race.
Yeah, I'd say that's where things kind of get a little more decided.
It's the last big volatile thing in the run. So here we are in Dungeon 8. It's worth noting that that air climb that the runners just did to get up here was called Flame Cave Skip. The mirror shield that you get in Dungeon 7 is useful for exactly one thing in this run, and it's to get through that flame cave. And since we skipped it, we were able to do Dungeon 8 before Dungeon 7.
Wow.
Oh my god, TGH just got a first try.
Incredible.
And Samu? Not able to get it first.
So yeah, that's. We'll see if Samu can get it before he has to reset.
Okay, not bad, not bad.
Not too far behind.
That's pretty good. That's good.
It's still hard to say who's gonna win.
Is about as good as you could ask for a trick like that in a race. So that's definitely good. So that was Dungeon 8. Don't worry about that. It's over. You're not gonna see it again.
Yeah, we're done with that place. Now we have to hope that boulders don't kill either of our runners.
They both got pretty good health pools here. We should be good. So here's waterfall skip. So normally, so in the current route that the racers are running, they don't actually have to do waterfall skip because we use the angled key to remove the waterfall. So you could just walk through, but turns out, like we were speculating earlier, when you're coming from Dungeon 8, it's actually faster just to do waterfall skip to get to the bird key than it is to go around the regular way.
Yeah, and Samura1man taking a death.
I shouldn't have said anything about their health pools. That was the commentator's curse right there. It's okay, dying in the overworld is not that big of a deal because you kind of just respawn with more hearts.
Here's another air climb that we use to just bypass a cave sequence. You
know, I just realized in the actual any percent route that does angular key skip, we don't enter a single cave on Tall Heights in this game.
You're right. We just
except for the
bypass them
bird
all.
key cave. Except for the bird key cave. That's the only one.
True.
Now TGH is going to be entering Dungeon 7, the last and a half dungeon of our run. Because we still got to finish Dungeon 4, which we have split up so that we don't need to deal with the ghost sequence, the little pink ghost that you got to save.
Yeah, unfortunately, Bow Skips forced us to do Dungeon 4 twice now.
Here's ball jump, the best trick in the game. Ooh, TGH getting that
Very
nicely.
clean. Yeah, the gimmick to Dungeon 7 is that we're trying to knock over all these pillars so that we can access the final room.
In these tile rooms, there's not really much you can do except for wait for that last tile to come up and then destroy it to open the door. There's some shenanigans that can happen in Dungeon 7 if you get unlucky or if you make small mistakes. This is a very, very scary place in the game to make mistakes, because even the smallest of mistakes in this dungeon can lose you upwards of 20 seconds.
Okay. No.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what happens. Luckily, that's like the least bad spot to lose the ball.
Right, that one's not that bad. And actually, that exact thing has happened to me, and it was in a race versus TGH. So it serves you right. That's what you get.
And just like that, he's back on track.
Oh my god, is TGH going for the skip?
He's going for the ball skip, yeah.
Oh, look at
And
that.
he got it. Beautiful.
That is very, very difficult. That is, oh my god, Sam is doing
Looks
it
like
too.
Samu's going for it as well. And he
And
got
they
it
both
too.
got it. That is a very, very difficult trick.
Yeah, that's pretty advanced.
And our runners are going to grab that boss key and continue on to the last pillar, which is the longest one to destroy. As we pass through the dreaded Dungeon 7 Hinox room, which many people have spent probably 100 hours in at this point.
Yeah, there's a theoretical skip in Dungeon 7 that involves that Hinox room. It's the same principle as the D8 one, but it's just not consistent.
There was the way that we found the Super Hinox throws, by the way, was from some random casual player on Reddit that happened to get picked up by that Hinox and thrown to the instrument room. And we saw that, and we figured out exactly how it worked in the span of one day. And we were able to skip Dungeon 8 completely using the evidence from that one Reddit video. But to this day, nobody has been able to replicate the same throw to the Dungeon 7 instrument room. It has not happened. That guy got extremely lucky. Extremely, extremely lucky. That it just kind of happened. And not only did it just send him nowhere, which was way more likely, but it sent him to the instrument room of Dungeon 7. We've had people doing science on that skip for hours upon hours upon hours. Weeks on weeks on weeks. And nobody has been able to replicate it.
But it's the one that started it all. Time for everyone's favorite boss, the Toothful Saddler.
The what?
The Toothful Saddler.
Oh, I see, I see. TGH unfortunately gonna get knocked off. Kind of makes it so you have to wait for an extra cycle to start here as you climb up. Pretty good fight regardless from TGH, even though he did fall off that one time.
I think he was going for an aerial flash.
Wow.
Because he knew he had one hit left.
He was going for the Breath of the Wild kill. Okay, yeah.
This could come down to Aghanim.
Yeah, it could. This is very close. We still have the catfish fight, the piranha killer fight. And then it's going to be off to the windfish egg. So here we are in Dungeon 4 again. We are going to be finishing it. Whereas before we just grabbed the flippers and then left. We are now going to be cleaning up, grabbing the Nightmare Key and finishing the boss. This is also where we get to do our Dungeon 4 puzzle, which is something that we manipulated earlier in the run. So we don't actually need to check to see what the solution is. The runners already know what it is. Samura1man going for seed 24, the true seed, the correct seed.
Classic. Yeah, that's my go-to.
The old faithful.
I don't know what seed TGH is on.
He goes for like 31 or 32 or something. He's weird. He's like the only one that does that.
Yeah, that is weird.
TGH is going to get knocked off there, but it's okay because it's still going to teleport him up. TGH now moving on to the Angler Key fight. Samu going to be following shortly. This is a small key skip that we do here in Dungeon 4. or you can kind of just shoot some pots with a bomb arrow and then jump across with the Rock's Feather and your Pegasus Boots.
Yeah, we take advantage of double slashes in this fight.
Pretty good fight from TGH. Could have been a little bit cleaner, but still very, very acceptable. He went for only double slashes, which is pretty cool. Samu getting a little bit of a cleaner fight, so that's going to save some time between them.
Yeah, let me get a time check here. So 1:19:22.
They both have the exact same amount of health, too, going into Nightmare.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, only a 14-second difference.
This could come down to blue balls. 14 seconds is about 3 blue balls, depending on the movement. Maybe 2 if you're unlucky.
I like that even without, or actually, it's hard to say. It could be close, but I was going to say even without Angler Key Skip, TGH and Samu are still probably going to beat my PB.
Let's see. Are they going to beat mine?
I think
probably not.
I don't think they'll beat yours because they both got it at 1:19 and it's like a 5.5-minute split. So
yeah. I think I'm good. Ooh.
I gotta step up my game.
Here's our last long cutscene before the end of the game. So going into the Nightmare fight, there's going to be, first of all, the maze, which we manipulated for earlier in the run. So these runners are both going to know their maze pattern. We never bother getting the lens or reading the book. It's totally fine because we are able to control this factor of the run. And then we also have the Nightmare fight, which is going to be 5 phases, I think, right? 5?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And the only really ones that are important are going to be the Aghanim phase, the Ganon phase, as well as kind of the last phase, or Deathful as we call them. The Aghanim phase is the big one. Considering how close these two runs are right now, Aghanim, it's kind of similar to A Link to the Past, where Aghanim can shoot either the red ball or the blue ball, and you can only damage him when he shoots a red ball, and it's kind of just totally random for the most part. So depending on how many blue balls each runners get, this could be a close race. It could be a not close race. This is kind of the last factor of the run. TJ starting Aghanim. I will count TGH's balls. You can count Samu's balls. TGH on 1 now. He did get the first red ball right away. 2.
for the
TGH
fourth
still on 2.
Yeah, that's 2. Oh, and that's 3 for Samu.
3 for TGH as well, but he's on the last red. He just needs 1 more.
Ooh.
4 in total. It's going to be 4 blue balls for TGH. I don't think he gets any more. Yep.
There it is. Well.
Wow.
Samurai just got his.
Okay.
It could come down to Deathel.
Yeah, Deathel RNG might actually be a factor here. The only RNG there on Deathel is that sometimes he opens his eyes faster than other times, and it's very minimal time difference based on how often he does it.
TGH's kind of losing control of Lanmola there.
Oh my god,
this is tied.
They are in sync.
They
are in sync. No way.
Holy.
No way.
This is too epic.
It straight up is going to come down to Deathel RNG. That's
amazing. Samura1man getting really good Deathel RNG.
Well, they're tied now. Oh, Samu just a little bit ahead by like half a second.
I think it's 1 more.
Samu gets it.
Yeah, that's gonna be GG by about like 3 seconds.
Oh man.
Yep. 125.25 and 125.29.
That's
wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's hard to like put in perspective like just how crazy that is for this run, because this run can vary so wildly because of stuff like SHT, and the fact that they were 4 seconds off is like incredible.
You guys just finished 4 seconds apart.
I'm aware.
I'm aware too, and I think they didn't deserve it with that good luck. But I'll take it. I'll take it.
How many blue balls? How many blue balls did you have?
2.
Yeah, TGH had 4 blue balls, and he got worse Deathel RNG, and that was what decided.
that made it. Yeah, that pretty much made it.
Well,
no,
GG's.
that was awesome. That was a really good race. Both of you did a fantastic job.
Yeah,
it was actually
thanks, guys.
Your dungeon before dungeon 6. You guys actually diverted on the face key route. I think TGH did the face key before dungeon 5 for the piece of power routing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually regret that because so I was going over because I did not end up getting piece of power for Slime Mule. I actually have no idea how the routing was so different. Like between the Ocarina Shrine and the middle of D5, I did not see a single piece of power drop. Like not one. And I was really confused. Like,
do you think you were thrown off because of Bow Wow skip?
I don't know. Like I went over it like earlier and figured that it would be like the same pretty much, as long as I didn't kill much on the beach or after the beach.
What about Lanmola and the beach?
Well, Lanmola, like that's only like 1 more, and that's only like a couple more. Plus I had the I got the heart in D3, which I don't normally do. So I pushed it back another. And it was really strange. But my first piece of power that I saw after Ocarina Shrine dropped like in the middle of Dungeon 5, like right before the 3rd Southwest fight.
That's like, way too early than it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that was like I was really confused, but
I still do count all of my kills from Dungeon 4, then I do basically after Dungeon 5. I just feel like it's better. And like personal preference, counting wise for piece of power, which it's really important for that Dungeon 5 boss, don't you think, guys?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
I didn't get a single I was not able to hook Slime Eel once in the first 4 cycles.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Can we talk about that slime eel fight?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have been nearly as bad if I did have POP, but like still, like that was about as bad as that fight can go. As like with him not faking you, with him not like he didn't even give me any fakes. He just like he just straight up like played dodgeball.
It was just unlucky.
Yeah,
like you said, if you had that piece of power, it would have been probably maybe second cycle, could have been first cycle even. And I think like just the fact that every single movement he gave you was just the one that you couldn't deal with, just like 5 times in a row. Like that just sucked.
I'm more interested in what happened in Dungeon 7.
Oh, I think I solved that. You just hit the side of the pillar, so
yeah,
I had
don't no idea that could happen.
TGH,
I had it happen once.
That is exactly what happened to me in that race between you and me like a few weeks ago or whatever. Oh. That's exactly what happened to me. I saw that happen to you and I was like, yes.
I'm so proud it happened to you too.
Learn from the best, I guess. But the way you described it, like I actually never ended up going back and watching that race. The way you described that event made it sound to me like you were like it happened right before you fall into the pit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean.
Like you throw it down, and I thought you meant like it bounced off of you and went into the hole.
No, it bounced off the pillar, perfect 90 degrees into the hole to the left.
Well, now I understand what you meant. About a month later.
From that point, when it happened to me, I threw it sideways. Then I went to the top of the pillar and threw it downwards from now on. It's a huge dumbass. And I also did that bomb thing with the ball in the D7. I learned that.
Yeah, I did that too. I got it in 2 bombs.
Perfectly.
My eagle fight too was really interesting.
Wait, we saw you go for the Breath of the Wild kill at the end.
Yeah, because so I worked that out, like to be really consistent the other night, and today, this race, I just got hit in the air like every time I tried it, and couldn't quite reach. But yeah,
I had 5 arrows when I went to that fight.
Oh geez, yeah, I got extras in Dungeon 6. I got pick up in Dungeon 6.
I forgot the extras, then I was like, yeah, just whatever. Let's hope for a good eagle. And it wasn't good. Then I died on my way to D7, the boulders.
Yeah, I saw that too.
It hurts. That was such a bad RNG.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to close off. Thank you again, both to TGH and Samu. Those were fantastic runs. You both did a really good job. That was a really good race.
Hey,
guys, if you're interested in running this game at all, it's very, very fun, really easy to pick up. You definitely should check it out. We have a Discord. You can find more info at speedrun.com/LAS. There's also a lot of info on zeldaspeedruns.com, where you can find there on the Link's Awakening Switch page. This game is super, super fun to run, especially if you're new to speedrunning. This is a really good game to pick up. And so if you have any interest at all, I urge you to do it. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And in about 20 minutes, we have a Ocarina of Time crowd control randomizer race by who are the runners for that? Could you tell me?
You don't know the runners?
I don't know the runners. ZFG versus Marco. There you go. That's going to be good. You guys definitely don't want to miss that. So coming up here, don't leave. Twitch.tv/speedrun. You're going to find that one. That's going to be a highlight of the night. Definitely check that one out for sure. And thanks a lot again, both our runners. Thank you, Siki, for commentating with me.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you both of you guys as well for commentating.
Thanks for commentating and having us.
And thanks for having us too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks again to GSA. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yep, thanks, GSA.
And we will see you in about 20 minutes.
Peace.